I've been working on a project for a little over a year. It's a novel called The Vessel, and I've not really liked it throughout the course of the writing. And, I talk about and complain about it a lot with the people close in my inner circle, and they always say, well, why don't you just abandon the project? And I want to talk specifically about the business reasons why I haven't abandoned this project yet. So artistically, we can talk about that at the end. It's very simple, but I want to talk about the hard business reasons why I have not yet abandoned this project. So here they are, the 5 reasons why I didn't abandon a project even though I didn't love it. Number 1, the book that I'm writing, The Vessel, is a very different format that I'm used to, and I'm trying to train myself to write more commercial books. Here's the thing, I love the books that I write, but I will not say they are commercial by any stretch of the imagination. I think Katrina Hates the Dead is the most commercial, and even that is about a girl who sets out to hell to kill the devil. It's full of religious doctrine and sacrilegious stuff, and even though it's an amazing action story, I don't even think that comes close to very commercial. And then I have things like My Father Didn't Kill Himself, which is a mystery book about suicide, and Ichabod Jones Monster Hunter, which is about a psychopath that kills monsters, but it may be all in his head the whole time. And I have Gherkin Boy, which is about a pickle that falls into a black hole. So these things are very, very uncommercial, and I wanted to try my hand at something that was more commercial, and The Vessel is definitely that. It falls into the same YA sci-fi vein as things like Hunger Games or Divergent. Everything else I've written is more a character study, and this was going to be my first big commercial YA book. And it's like pulling teeth because I'm used to intimate character studies, and this is definitely not that. But I saw that, and so I wanted to use this commercial work to drive people to my more intimate character studies, just the way that someone like Jared Leto will do a Joker movie, but then spend 5 years doing very obscure art house movies. I wanted something similar to that. It's a model that works for a lot of people who are successful artists, and if something is being modeled successfully, I'm going to learn from that and try it myself. So this was my commercial book that was going to drive people to all of my cool indie projects. The second one's simple. I saw a place in the market that I could be viable in, and I decided to try my hands at it. There are so many amazing YA sci-fi authors, and that space seems to be proliferating, and it's a space that I want to be in. I want to be writing sci-fi, and I wanted to see what the most successful people in that space were doing and try my hands at it. And on top of that, I wanted to see if people would buy the kind of contemporary commercial fiction that I wanted to write. So I needed to finish this book to see if that was viable. Before we get to number 3, I do want to say that I did love this book, and I still do love the concept, and it's very possible that when I get back and do the editing on this book that I'm going to see that I'm totally crazy and the book is great. I don't know, that's the great thing about novel writing is you hate the process throughout the whole time, and then you go back and you're like, oh, a lot of this is really good. Okay, so number 3 is that I wanted to test out a new delivery format for my books. On Amazon, you see a lot of books that are a series, but in reality, they're just one book broken down into 4 or 5 20,000 word chunks, and then they're bound together in a single print edition. Well, being a guy from comics, that's exactly how we do things in comics. We do 4 issues and then bind things together in a trade. It's almost my exact business model that I've always used for Wannabe Press. So I saw a way to test that in the book world, and I really wanted to try that and see if it would be effective. Again, every time you release an issue in comics, it's supposed to build steam into the eventual trade release. So in order to do that, I needed a book, and this was the best book that I came up with in 2 years of thinking about how to do this concept. So I didn't want to go back and spend 2 more years before I could test this delivery method, because that would be a lot of wasted time, effort, and energy, not only in the fact that I have to create a new book, but in all the manpower hours that went into it already. So number 4 feeds into number 3, which is that eventually I passed the point of no return. Look, when you're taking a flight, let's call it a transcontinental flight from LA to New York. Eventually, at some point, you pass this point of no return, which is that with the fuel you have remaining, it makes more sense to continue to your final destination than to return to your point of origin. And in the same way, I had put hundreds, if not thousands of hours into this book, whether it was brainstorming or outlining or drawing initial concepts or writing the book. And eventually it made more sense to just finish the book and see what I had than to abandon the book. Because when I make my hourly rate out, I look at how many hours it took to make a project and how many hours I could have billed instead to a client. And I look at how many hours it's going to take to finish a project. And if I've passed that point of no return, unless something is really, really, really bad, I'm going to finish that project because I want to see it out into the world. It's better to have that project finished. All right, and number 5, if I finish the book, it can make money for me forever. Look, if I abandon the book, it's just going to sit on my hard drive gathering dust, and I'm going to have wasted all of those hours, all of those hundreds of hours that I already put in. But if I can finish the book, go back and revise it to a place that I'm happy and comfortable with it, and I think my audience will respond to it, then I can put that online and make money on it forever. And here's the thing, you make money on your back catalog. The bigger your back catalog is, the more chances you have to make money. Generally with an author, when someone buys one book that they like, they're gonna buy a lot more books from that author. And if you only have one book online, it's going to severely reduce your ability to make money in the future. So I kept doing the book, and I'm continuing to do the book, and I will continue to work on the book because I need to increase my back catalog. If I do 4 different books plus a trade print, I will have 5 additional books for people to buy online, which will make me have more authority, make people be able to find me, and make people be able to know, like, and trust the work that I have, so they're more likely to buy the next book. And it's more likely to increase my profile out in the community of writers and, more importantly, of readers. So those are the 5 main reasons why I continued on with this project and didn't abandon it. Even though I could have earlier and should have earlier, eventually I hit that tipping point, that point of no return, and now I'm sort of pot committed to seeing the outcome and going back and just seeing what I have. That doesn't mean I can't still, when I read the book after it's done and I put it aside for a couple of months, that I can't still abandon it then. But at some point I wanted to see how this project, at least in the first draft, was going to finish out. Now, those are all business reasons. There's one very good artistic reason, and really it's the only artistic reason you need to abandon something, and it's that it just doesn't feel right. I've abandoned dozens of projects, hundreds of projects, because they didn't feel right. Some of them I've come back to later, some of them are still sitting in my inactive project folder. But I got bored, I lost passion, I just felt something was wrong in my gut. And The Vessel isn't necessarily that. So I never had the feeling in my gut that it was the wrong move until I started writing it. So when I'm talking about abandoning things, I generally abandon them on the outline stage or in the treatment stage. Once I start writing the book, generally it means I've put enough thought, energy, and effort that this has bubbled to the top. This has made me want to write it, and all of the reasons made sense. So I'm probably going to finish that project, if for no other reason than my compulsive need to finish everything that I start. But again, that's an artistic reason. I wanted to bring to light the business reasons today because this is the business of art. I'll see you next week, creators and wannabes. Have a great day.